From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the Evening News Blast. Advocate is reporting Massachusetts U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren is leading a group of Senate Democrats in accusing the Trump administration of quietly using a proposed housing rule to strip LGBTQ plus people of federal protections, including by removing sexual orientation from Department of Housing and Urban Development regulations and allowing shelter providers to scrutinize the sex of people seeking a place to sleep. In a letter sent Wednesday morning to Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner and obtained by the Advocate, Warren, the top Democrat on the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs, and U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon, led 22 of their Senate colleagues in calling on HUD to withdraw its proposed Equal Access to Housing and HUD Programs Revisions Rule. Signers include U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, the first out lesbian elected to the Senate, as well as prominent Democratic Senators Cory Booker of New Jersey, Raphael Warnock of Georgia, Tim Kaine of Virginia, Bernie Sanders of Vermont, Adam Schiff of California, and Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. The senators argue that the proposal goes beyond President Donald Trump's executive order targeting so-called gender ideology by striking sexual orientation protections without making that change clear to the public. A housing fight is inside a housing crisis. The Trump administration would rather you didn't notice that it's enabling housing discrimination against the LGBTQ community by quietly removing sexual orientation and gender identity from its list of protected characteristics, Warren told the Advocate in an email statement. LGBTQ Americans who are disproportionately at risk of homelessness deserve a safe place to call home. The warning comes just days after the Senate overwhelmingly passed a bipartisan housing affordability package co-led by Warren and Republican U.S. Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. The bill, known as the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, passed 85-5 and aims to increase housing supply, lower costs, and limit large investors' ability to buy up single-family homes. But even as Congress weighs one of the most significant federal housing packages in decades, Warren and the other senators say HUD is advancing a separate rule that would make housing and shelter access less secure for LGBTQ plus people. So what would the Trump rule change? The proposed rule, published April 28th in the Federal Register, would revise HUD's equal access regulations to remove references to gender and gender identity or replace them with sex as defined by Trump's January 20th, 2025 executive order. That order directs federal agencies to recognize only two sexes, male and female, and orders HUD to begin rulemaking to rescind the 2016 Equal Access Rule. Public comments on the HUD rule close on June 29th. HUD's proposed rule would remove all references to gender and gender identity from HUD regulations and replace those references where relevant with the term sex as defined in the president's executive order, the senators wrote. The proposed rule, however, goes further than the president's executive order directive by striking sexual orientation across all HUD regulations. A move so egregious, it appears the administration would prefer no one notice it. The letter says the rule would affect fair housing enforcement, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, programs serving people experiencing homelessness and domestic violence survivors, community development programs, housing opportunities for persons with AIDS, and Indian and Native Hawaiian housing programs. This is part one of the story. We'll have part two tomorrow morning. The PEP Radio YouTube channel has news updates all day, every day. PEP Radio is available on the Live 365 app, the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, Roku, Alexa, and wherever you find streaming radio. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.